At the center of every single event in your life is you. The most logical place to start to create any changes with you. You've got 20 relationships, 20 situations, 20 outcomes that you want. You can go and try and individually change each one, or you can change you, and all of them will change to some degree.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. Hello, business star. If you are not living your dream life, well, you'll love today's guest. Daniel Mangena has written 4 books on living your dream. He's also built a simple 4-step process called Beyond Intention Paradigm, which he says transformed his own life from misery to celebration. And now he uses those steps to help others awaken to the importance of their unique role. Around BrandFace, we like that, right? He's also the host of Do It with Dan podcast series. Today, he's going to share his story and how his personal brand played a role in building the business and life of his dreams.
And now we'd like to welcome Daniel to Be Bold Branding. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
I am here and ready to be bold and all of the things.
Well, we're
going to find out about how bold Dan is, really.
Oh, Lord.
It's great. It's really, we've
what
all
have I signed up for?
Things.
Okay, Dan, let's start with this. I understand that there was a specific event in your life that happened later in your life that shaped, or at least helped to shape, who you are and why you're doing what you're doing today. Can you kind of let us in on your story?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 27 years old, which is hilarious because it's like as soon as the diagnosis came in, everyone was like, hey, by the way, just wondering, would you happen to be on the spectrum? It's like, where were you 20 years ago? Nobody said anything. And it was really crazy because like I just started like manifesting people that just knew about life on the spectrum as an adult. I ended up like randomly on dates with people. It was, oh yeah, I help. Like there was one woman I dated for a while. She was a head teacher at school for autistic teens, and like it was just really crazy that all of this support systems came in. But it helped me to frame. I was suffering with crippling social and general anxiety for years. That's actually what ended up leading me into getting the appointment that ended up leading mystically to meeting the doctor who gave me my diagnosis. But it was really great because I got to understand myself, how I look at systems, how I look at processes, how I look at structure and form, which really is the backbone to what I get to do today, which is looking at sometimes complicated ideas and just distilling them down to something that we can all consume and do something with.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
So when you say you had, you were just socially awkward, or I don't recall the term that you used. Like, what are
crippling was the adjective.
There you go. Yes. Okay, thank you. So were there other signs that what made you think, hey, this could be an issue for me, or this could be a certain diagnosis?
Wasn't even that, T. I'll tell you what happened. Since I can remember going back as early as about 13 or 14, every year, a couple of times, I'd have really bad insomnia. Then I wouldn't sleep for a week or two. And I had some coping mechanisms that would deal with it. But I came to a particular time in my late 20s when this particular episode of insomnia was really, really bad. And I had some stressful things going on at the time anyway. And everything over the counter wasn't working. All of my over-the-counter methods, they weren't working, and it didn't look like it was getting any better. So I got a bit concerned. I went to see the doctor. I said, doctor, I need some sleeping tablets. I need prescription sleeping meds. Nothing I normally do is working. I can't sleep. He said, okay. He prescribed me something called Zopiclone, which in the UK is about as strong a sleeping medicine as they can prescribe. So much so they're only allowed to actually give you 3 because they're addictive as well. So he gave me the 3. He says, 1 will knock you out. If you're not quite done, 1.5 is fine, but you can't take any more than 2. It's not allowed. 2 is the maximum. I took 2 and I was still wide awake. So I go back to the doctor. And he says, well, sorry to say this, there's something going on. You need to talk to someone. I'm going to have to refer you. I can't give you any more medication. Moral duty now, I have to refer you to someone to speak to a therapist. I said, okay, cool. Just so happens, thank God, the therapist that he referred me to, Dr. Helen McEwen, who I love forever, happened to be a cognitive behavioral therapist that specialized in adults with autism. So that's not why I was sent there. I was sent there just for my sleeping challenge. It just so happened that was her specialist area. She saw the clues, didn't diagnose me straight away, spent time just working with me on my sleep. And they said, well, the reason why you've got sleep issues is because you've got anxiety. The anxiety is happening because you're an autistic person trying to operate in the mainstream world. Let's address that. Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. Everything else is history.
Wow.
What? That's fascinating to
Yeah.
me. So what was one of the first things you did that changed for you, like after that diagnosis, and I'm just curious as to what were the first couple of things that you did?
Well, first and foremost, understanding that the reason why I was always having these episodes and so on and so forth is because my brain just functions differently. And so I dove into understanding how my brain worked and what my superpowers were, what my strengths were. And one of the first things I identified is if something's systemized, I learn it immediately. If something doesn't have a structure, I get anxiety and I get overwhelmed. And that's exactly what was causing the issues in my life. And so, well, the social anxiety, again, I didn't have any framework for it. And being on the spectrum, I don't have the natural wiring that people have to be in social connections with people. So I went and just started to understand what social dynamics was, what interpersonal relationships were, so I could have the structure that allowed me to not have that anxiety. And then I just went and did an audit of my life of the things I had anxiety around because I just didn't have any structures and frameworks for them, and started to put those into place and also just ask for help. Now that I know, hey, I've got this thing. Okay, well, I need some help in this area. I need some help in that area, and just allow myself to be supported, which completely changed the game.
No doubt. And you didn't feel like it was just you trying to figure it, you against the world, trying to figure out why you can't sleep or why you have anxiety or all of this, right?
All of this, yeah.
Yeah.
All of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Total sense. Well, one of the topics that you speak about occasionally is stop meditating, how mindfulness is sabotaging your success. Is this born out of figuring this out, for yourself? You want to talk about that? You want to elaborate that? Is that a good bridge for what we just learned?
Yeah. So there's one of the things that I did is I really broke down, our physical manifested reality and the outcomes that we want to create. I really started to break down what really makes it happen. So our life really is a product of our habits, our behaviors, our actions, our choices. Those physical things that we do lead to outcomes. If I don't work out, I'm not going to be in shape. If I eat crap, I'm going to be unhealthy. If I'm not nice to people, I'm not going to have great relationships. If I don't deliver value, I'm probably not going to have any money unless I steal it from people, right? But the fact is that as much as 97% of our actions, habits, and behaviors are unconscious. So there's another element here. There's the function of the unconscious mind in terms of having those actions that are going to lead to those outcomes. So if I want to get a different outcome, I need to change my behavior. But if I want to change my behavior, then my mind needs to be on board. But what we end up doing is we try to bully our mind to take on a new behavior, or get mad with our mind that it's not taking on a new behavior, when actually all we need to do is just speak to it in the language that it understands, and it understands emotional inputs. So if I change my emotional inputs, I can have different thoughts, I can have different actions, I can have a different life. Now, what I found over the last 22 years that I've been in personal development in some way, shape, or form, is that people focus on one of these areas. They'll go and try and do these high performance habits, not realizing if you don't change your unconscious, all you need to do is go out of it for a day and you'll revert back to default of what your habits and behaviors were. People try and beat their mind up or just focus on their mindset, but they don't change their actions, habits, and behaviors. They don't get a different outcome.
Right.
People just focus on their spiritual practices, their mindfulness, but they don't change their mind, they don't change their habits, they don't change their life, and wonder what's going on. And so when I say stop meditating, I don't say don't meditate. To stop something, it has to be emotion. But let's be consciously in directing our mindfulness practice, our spiritual practice, to change our mind so that we can change our habits and behaviors and change our life. Versus me just saying, oh, I've meditated today, where's my Lamborghini, right? I've meditated today, where's my new beloved? I've meditated today, what's going on? Okay, I've meditated, I've done my yoga, I've done my whatever. Now let's apply some conscious direction to how that's impacted my unconscious thoughts. What's my inner narrative? What's that voice that's going on inside? What are my natural procrastinations? What am I leaning to naturally? Is that changing? Yes. Okay. Now let's take that conscious time and change our habits and behaviors and lead to the outcome.
Yeah.
So is that where your beyond intention paradigm came from?
Yes. Beyond intention was essentially, how can I make sure that every part of me is on board with these changes in my emotions, these changes in my mindset, these changes in my habits? Because so often we get caught in stuck states. I'm trying to change my mindset. I'm trying to change this. I'm trying to change that. Well, nothing's changing because number one, you haven't accepted responsibility for the change. Number two, you're trapped in the past or the future, so you're not affected the change. Number three, you're locked in a negative expectation. And number four, you've got too high an expectation of yourself as a human. You think you're going to be perfect all the time. You think it's going to be easy. You're not recognizing that the human journey does have ups and downs. It has bumps. It has all of these things. And Beyond Intention is a 4-step process that allows us to, with grace, with self-compassion, move through those changes that will lead to new outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And so are those the 4 steps that you just mentioned when you walked?
Those 4 steps?
Yeah, repeat those for us one more time. Take notes on these guys, because these are incredible. Like I resonated with each one of those.
Yep.
So the 4 steps are accept. Accept is accepting I'm the author and creator of my life. At some level of consciousness, every single outcome originated with me in some way, shape, or form. If you don't believe that, then look at this simple idea. At the center of every single event in your life is you. The most logical place to start to create any changes with you. You've got 20 relationships, 20 situations, 20 outcomes that you want. You can go and try and individually change each one, or you can change you, and all of them will change to some degree. So that's step 1.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2, clear, is recognizing that at the end of the day, the only place I can create real change is in a real place. And if I'm trapped in the future and expectations of the future, or past and fears based in the past, anxiety based in the past, drama, trauma, guilt, shame based on the past, I'm not present enough to make new choices. So step 2 is all about coming back to the present moment, coming back to now. Step 3 is about developing positive expectation. Now, as I said, the mind's not going to listen to me saying, think positive, think positive, think positive. It's going to look at the environment and the inputs that it's receiving and generate expectations based on that. So we generate a new set of expectations by changing our environment to support new positive expectations through gratitude. And 4th, really, I think, is where the magic happens. Listen is about thinking and feeling with awareness and recognizing, as a human, I'm not going to be happy every day. I'm not going to be switched on every day. I'm not going to want to do the workout every day. I'm not going to want to be nice to people every day. I'm not going to want to be nice to myself every day. But if I give myself grace in my humanity, maybe, just maybe, I can let go of those negative, disempowering habits and loops that are leading to that and move forward positively to my goals.
I don't think I've ever heard 4 steps quite like that anywhere. And I think they flow so beautifully. I think it makes perfect sense, because those are the places we hold ourselves back. That's where we get in our own way, I guess, is what a lot of people talk about, right?
100%.
You know what we see, Dan, a lot, because being in personal branding and having our programs and helping our clients through that, we see a lot of this. And from the, what we say a lot of times is you can't see the label when you're inside the jar.
Exactly.
And so, there are times that we've been guilty of it, of course, but then because we're all human, but our clients battle with a lot of this stuff. We even started Be Bold branding because we wanted people to get the fear out of like putting themselves out there and getting into the world, especially when it deals with entrepreneurialism and business and things like that. I think that we're all our own worst enemy. And we all battle those things that you were just talking about. This is a systematic way that we can change, Dr. Dyer. Her favorite quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer is, you change the way you look at things, you look at
they change. Yeah.
Yep.
Things you look at change.
Yep.
It is. Yeah. I've quoted that so many times in my life.
But this is a systematic way of doing that, which is really awesome, because like you said, we can't just snap our finger and be positive. I'm lucky. I was born the eternal optimist. What I have to do is be careful that I don't over-optimize everything that's going to happen, right? But, we're not everybody has that natural inclination or whatnot. And then life intrudes upon us, and bad circumstances give us bad outlooks a lot of times. And, and you got to change those things sort of systematically.
Exactly.
Just like you're articulating.
And what I love about you so far, Dan, is you took your own story and the things that were very painful to you and your own journey of overcoming those things and sharing exactly how you did it. That's where a wonderful personal brand comes in, because it's part of your personal story. It truly is.
And I think with the personal branding as well, spent a lot of time working on my personal brand. And one of the things I think that people lose sight of is that people will feel you before they hear you or see you. And when we're trying to build a personal brand that's not personal, it's based on the idea that we're trying to project out into the truth of who we are. people find it very difficult to connect with that. And so I do my best, and it doesn't always, work out in terms of people accepting who we are. I've had people that are like, what do you mean your life isn't perfect and you have issues? How can you tell me how to live my life? Well, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm sharing how I live mine. I'm giving you the opportunity to live yours in an expanded way as well. But the fact that I talk openly about stuff that doesn't work out for me all the time, the fact that I talk about the fact that my life isn't and hasn't always been perfect, I think gives people permission to live their life too, and to actually get somewhere, versus holding ourselves to this unrealistic and nonsensical idea of perfection that doesn't allow anything to change.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100% too. We talk about in BrandFace a lot. We teach our people that stop competing, right? Like completely get it out of your mind, especially in business, that you're competing with somebody else or something else, because what you see on Facebook and things that the Lamborghinis and the jet airplanes and all that kind of stuff, some of them are real, some of them are not. Like, and you might not be destined for a Lamborghini, but it doesn't mean you're not destined to an incredible life and a 6-figure income, maybe a 7-figure income, a business that you enjoy doing every day, clients and customers you would love to work with.
I think is more important for me than the Lamborghini or the jet.
Yes.
There are people who've got Lamborghinis and jets that are miserable.
Yep.
They have them. They really do have them, and they're miserable. And there are people that are renting them because they're miserable, right?
No, I did. I had a guy from Laguna Beach, California, that one of the richest men I've ever been able to be around. And I'm sitting on the back of this mansion at the end of Laguna Beach, right before you get to Dana Point. And he's like almost private, right? And he's sitting over there looking over the Pacific Ocean. And he goes, I don't know what I want. And I was like, dude, like all the pressure I ever felt just like flew off of me. I'm like, this dude don't know what he wants. He could buy most of it. So I mean, but he didn't have that personal, he didn't have that internal happiness that you're talking about, that fulfillment. The money is just a scorekeeper so you can
do a tool,
things, right?
And a tool that you can go do things.
Absolutely.
It's not scorekeeper was wrong. Let's scratch that. Tool. It's a tool, for life and to enjoy things. But, if we're misers about it, or if that's all we're focused on, we lose family, we lose a lot of times we lose our own self-worth. We might be willing to do things that we should not do just to gain a buck or something. And you don't want to live that life. That's not life at all. No. So very interesting stuff. Very good stuff.
So tell us about your Do It with Dan podcast, and what do you cover on there, and why did you start it?
I made and lost 2 multi-million-pound fortunes by the age of 23 years old. And I managed to claw myself back from there, build up another successful consulting business, which I closed and then I've since reopened. And coming to the tail end of that sort of chapter of my life, I was really getting this nudge that there was some service to be of to the world. And so I kind of made a deal with God. I was like, all right, I'm going to do a bit of speaking. I'm going to put a book out, and then you can leave me alone, right? That's good. That's the safe thing that I'm going to do. And I realized that, nobody's going to just give me a stage, right? Nobody's like, I've got a book deal now under Simon & Schuster imprint we're actually re-releasing my book, Stepping Beyond Intention, all about the Beyond Intention paradigm under that imprint. But at first, I didn't expect someone's going to give me a book deal. I went and self-published. But with the speaking, I said, well, nobody's going to give me a chance unless they know I've got something worth saying. And so I started the podcast as a platform for me to show that I do actually have something to say. And so that's what we do. We started that in 2018. And, we're really grateful that now we're in the top 1% of podcasts globally. We continue to grow and to pour into people. But Do It with Dan is just a fun connection for me. I just get to speak to cool people that motivate and inspire me, and through that get to motivate and inspire people around the world.
Oh, that's great.
That is great. And so,
really
it was another tool, a credibility tool, really.
Yeah, right? It ended up being a credibility tool. It wasn't, and it was actually only about 4 or 5 months ago I realized how well the podcast was doing, because for the last sort of 2 years it's been outsourced to a member of the team, so I don't look at the stats, I don't see the stats, I just keep doing the thing. And then I was like, Dan, you realize that we're like getting X amount of downloads and we're the top 1% globally. I was like, we are? Oh, okay, cool. And now it's been a great credibility tool, and it's been something that allows me to have conversations with awesome people. Some of my heroes have come on the podcast, and I've been able to connect with them and have conversations, because, I mean, I sent someone an email like, hey, I'd love to speak to you for an hour and pick your brain. It's very different to, hey, I've got, a solidly ranked podcast. I'd love to have you on to have a conversation about X, Y, and Z. It's a great relationship builder.
It sure is.
It is. It really is. We started ours as Fearless Friday, literally as a tool to help the clients that were not quite ready to join the program. And we thought, hey, this would be a great way for us to just talk about what we do when we're when we're dealing with clients, right? So the would-be clients can see sort of a little bit more behind the veil and what we do. But then we realized how limiting that was, because we can only shoot it on Friday, or we can only release it on Friday. And then we're like, wait, we need more. So we changed over the people.
It's the simple things you miss in the beginning, right?
Exactly.
But true to your point, we did step 4. We kind of gave ourselves permission to understand that we're not perfect. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We give ourselves permission every day to understand that. But I think that just releases that ability. It releases creativity. It releases the boldness that allows you to do something, because you're never going to be perfect. Not everybody's ever going to like it. So why not do it to the best of your ability for the best reasons to help somebody else? And what happens, because one thing we've learned is you're always going to attract your people.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a buddy who's one of the best salesmen I've ever known, like one-on-one salespeople. This guy could sell anything. And he told me, he goes, you know why I'm so good at selling? And I'm like, why? He goes, because I just know I'm going to be the biggest idiot in the room. I just already know it. So
that's hilarious.
I accept it and go in. And he said, I have no pretense after that. I know I'm the dumbest guy there.
Oh, awesome.
And of course, it was, funny, self-deprecating, but but
he's a fantastic salesman. I mean, the greatest.
Whatever helped him to get where he needed to go, right?
Whatever gets you over that bump.
Right. That was his unintentional paradigm, I think. Or it might have been intentional. I don't know. But
hey, it gets a result, whichever one it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Dan, earlier you mentioned superpower. I'd like to ask you what your superpower is.
I'd say definitely that anything systemized, I can learn it, right? And I mean, absolutely anything. As long as it's a step-by-step system that I can understand, I'll be able to pick up the skill. And I've demonstrated that time and time again.
Yep, that's good. That's good. And it's got to help your organizations too, because systems are the way you build things.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Doing it once is not success.
Right.
Doing it
being
over
able
and
to
over.
do it over and over. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
The right way, right?
Exactly. And do it effectively over and over.
There you go.
So Dan, tell listeners here, what would most people be surprised to learn about you other than what you've already told us?
I don't think there's anything that I hide that would be surprising. I'm such an open book. It's like, oh, this would be very difficult. I really can't think of anything. I mean, my entire life is pretty much
good.
That's a good thing, actually.
Yeah,
that really is a good thing, because truthfully, Michael said, other than what you've already shared, because you being on the spectrum, I would never in a million years, guess that. And I've had many, we've had friends with children who are autistic and known autistic adults and so forth. And of course, there's varying levels. I mean, huge levels of, autism and Asperger's. So I would have never ever guessed that,
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember, I spent 27 years sort of jerry-rigging life. And what's interesting is people that recognize people on the spectrum can see it with very little subtle things with me. I've got like a few little subtle tics. But I've done my best as well to not have it impact the people around me. So do I have OCD? Yes, but what I do is I've got pockets of my life where I allow that OCD to express healthily, so it doesn't spill out unconsciously onto other people. So you won't have me like running around someone else's house, putting things in a certain order. But then, like, for example, my bookshelf is in a particular order. The shirts in my wardrobe are in a particular order. I've got like little things in a particular order, and that's fine for me. I can have that healthy expression because I've got the conscious relationship to it versus, I just need everything to be things I could be safe. I've got those sort of comforting anchors dotted around my life all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You put it in the box it belongs in.
Yes. I give it a healthy place to express itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's fantastic.
Oh, I do too. And I think the understanding of it is huge, because like I love the first step in your process is accepting that, acknowledging that, knowing that, because now we can focus on it, right?
Now we can fly. We can focus and we can fly.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Hey, listen, Dan, we would love, since we talked about personal branding, and this is a podcast about personal branding, let's talk about yours.
Sure.
We'd like to ask you 5 important questions about your personal brand. We'll do it like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just answer with the honesty that you have. All right.
Sure.
So number 5, who do you serve? As in, who are your ideal customers?
Ideal customers for me are people who understand that there are different levels to what we call our reality, right? So they understand that, there's a spiritual aspect to it. They understand that my mindset's got something to say, but they also understand what I do has got something to say to what I get. But they don't depend on any one of those, or are open to seeing all of them working together. I really, really love to serve people that want to create abundance in a way that serves and is contributive to others. And are open to doing that, as I said, across the spectrum of these different parts of ourselves.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great answer.
Number 4, exactly how do you serve them?
I've got my free offerings, which for me, our business does very well. We turn over a few $1 million a year, but all of that money that we make really, for me, is about being able to serve with a lot of the free content. We started just this month, every week having something of service that goes out, whether it's a challenge that we're doing, a masterclass, some kind of workshop, something that people can come to for little or no money so that they can be served. Then we've got our signature Micro to Millions program, which has got an entry level of just a few $100, all the way up to people coming and spending a weekend with me in Cabo and spending tens of thousands doing that. So we've got many, many different ways we do that, whether it's through pre-recorded content, some kind of live event, or people coming to work with me personally.
All right.
Perfect.
Number 3, what qualifies you to serve them?
I don't think any of us really have qualifications for what we do. We've either got a track record that demonstrates that we can do it, or stories of pretending that we do it. And, for the last 4 years, I've built up a very, very solid book of testimonials, case studies, and references of people who have applied the work that we do and gotten the results. So I would say it's those results that qualifies me, rather than any arbitrary piece of paper.
Love that answer.
Yeah, that might be the most unique answer we've ever had for that. Hey, listeners, are y'all listening? There's some big takeaways from Dan.
All right. Number 2, how does it make their life better?
I believe that abundance is our birthright. It's our natural state. And so often we are caught up in this illusion of separation from that. And so I would say what I do makes people's life better, because it returns them back to a natural connection with the abundance that allows them to live life on their own terms, regardless of what that looks like for them as an individual.
I love it, Dan. I love it. I'll tell you my personal brand right here in a minute. All right. Number 1, and the one we worked our way down to, what sets you apart from others in your industry that do what you do?
I'd say primarily that I don't focus on one thing. I'm not a mindset coach. I'm not an energy healer. I'm not a habits person. I connect intentionality, the emotional, spiritual, energetic side of things, the mindset, beliefs, and internal narrative, and action habits and behaviors. And we've got unique tools that we provide people with at each and every one of those phases that are mine. So nobody else has got them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great takeaway.
Tell them your
great takeaway.
brand, because this is so in alignment with you.
It truly is. Originally when I met Tanya, I met her because I had a real estate company that I was launching. I'd always been in the real estate business, but not in arm's length brokerage type of a setting. But I got talked into doing that, and I hired her company to market it. And because I had been involved in so many real estate transactions, more than any other one human being on earth, well over 68,000 at the time, she'd coined me as America's top selling real estate auctioneer, which worked for us to get a lot of leverage and help me recruit to the business and that sort of thing.
Credibility of
experience is what we leaned on. But over time, we figured out something I didn't know in that time, my 45 years of life, is that I love being a broker, and I love helping people, especially my agents and our people in our program, to become successful by overcoming a lot of the things that you talk about. So it dawned on me over time that I was the abundant life broker. because I feel like I live that every day. Every day is Saturday to me. It has been for years and years and years. Through some systematic thought process like you're talking about, not as well articulated because it was just me. I wasn't teaching it to anybody. I was trying to learn it and living it. And then, and over time, I realized that I get the greatest joy from helping other people be successful. And I want to spend the rest of my life doing that. And
awesome. It
just came to me. And of course, I thank God for that because I feel like he's the author of thought. And so I was like, I'm going to be the abundant life broker. And I have been ever since. I try to, and it gives me something to live up to. We teach our people that personal brands don't just change the way that you see yourself
or the others see
you. It changes the way you see yourself. And that's what I learned through Tanya's program that now I get to help teach is, you'd be surprised what you discover when you start working at it and going down the road. And then you wake up one day and you're like, you know what, this is exactly who I was made to be. So
amen to that.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So two final questions for you. What is one message that you would like to leave our listeners with today when it comes to their personal brand?
I think kind of dovetails to what Michael was just saying. It doesn't really matter what you're trying to convince people to see about you. What really matters is what do you see about yourself, and how and how much integrity you're in with how you show up with what you're doing in the world. And if you're trying to force that into a box that's unrealistic and holding you to some unrealistic ideal, then you're not going to enjoy life. And at the end of the day, like, none of us are getting out of this thing alive. Let's not take it so seriously that we don't actually get to enjoy the ride while we're here.
I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
That is great advice.
All right, Dan, tell prospects how they can reach you if they have questions or if they want to work with you.
We've actually created the website to be just a central repository of everything. And as you guys will know, it's not good to give people multiple things. So here's a top tip. If you're going on a podcast, don't give the listeners 20 million different things to do. Just give them one thing that's easy for them to remember and give them something exciting to go and do. And so head over to dreamwithdan.com. Very easy. I've got a really cool resource on there called How to Be a Harmonious Money Magnet. It will pop up and say hello. So head over to dreamwithdan.com. You can connect with all my socials, my podcast, my books, my blog, my articles for Entrepreneur Magazine. As of now, my documentary that's coming out this summer as well. All of that's on dreamwithdan.com.
That is fantastic.
Well, Dan, congratulations on your success. And thank you very much for being on Be Bold Branding today.
Absolutely.
We have enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
You are so welcome. All right, guys, if you are ready to take your brand to the next level, just like Dan did, Michael and I want to help you. Just head to discussyourbrand.com. And that just is the first step toward getting your brand really dialed in. We'll talk about your challenges and goals and take that next step together.
Yep, guys, we bring value like this to you every week. So please hit that subscribe button so you are the first one to know about it. We'll give you time to do that right now. Hit the subscribe button to meet more people just like Dan. And remember, guys, we do this for prosperity. And when we talk about prosperity, we're not just talking about money. That's just one part of it. We're talking about the true 360 of an abundant life that we truly wish for every one of you. And we know at BrandFace that prosperity favors the bold. So we say be bold, folks, especially with your brand and especially in the rest of 2022. Thank you, Ms. Tanya, and thank you, Mr. Dan, for your time, and God bless.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time on Be Bold Branding. Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.